If you're focusing on all this grim news from the SEC and Gary Gensler, then you're going to miss the biggest thing that's going to happen in crypto this week. There's something so much bigger that's going to potentially drive us into the next bull market, and it actually happens tomorrow. So guys, I've got a few metrics to show what I think, and I'm going to look at lots of chart analysis to understand exactly what's going on. And if you've got the patience to stick around for 6 or 7 minutes, you're going to have the keys to understanding what you should be doing exactly right now. Hit the like button. Let's get into it, guys. So obviously, you know, the SEC's had a big impact on a lot of old coins. You got Binance, Coinbase, Robinhood, you name it, guys. There's some pretty bad FUD floating around. But into the fear comes opportunity. But we need to focus on one thing that is more important than all of this right now, and it's what's been driving the entire bear market in cryptocurrency. Well, obviously, you know, Bitcoin was overvalued, and then it fell towards the downside. And apart from the FTX collapse, look at all the other stuff that went on. This FTX collapse shows you what the little blimp is here. Now, that would be the equivalent of what might happen from the SEC, although you can see the SEC stuff hasn't really affected Bitcoin at all, to be honest. But it's this. And before we look at Bitcoin and what is probably the most bullish setup that I've ever seen in the Bitcoin charts, well, at least recently, we're going to understand something else. This is the economic calendar, guys. And it might look like a pretty boring sheet of paper right now with a lot of stuff going on, but it shows us something very, very important that is happening tomorrow. If you've been wondering what it is that's been driving down the Bitcoin price, well, it's this. It is the increase in the US interest rates. Interest rates in the US dollar have been brought in because of US inflation. Inflation was going up all the time, printing more money. To curb inflation, they needed to increase interest rates. Increasing interest rates makes the dollar more valuable to hold as an asset, but also it makes it more risky to invest in other things, such as crypto and stocks. Another thing that's important to note is many large-scale investors are borrowing money in order to invest. If the interest rates are higher, then borrowing money becomes way more expensive. Therefore, you don't want to do it anymore. You want to start giving that money back or just investing into US dollars because it's less risky that way. So now we know this. And how can I look at that on a chart? Well, guys, this is the DXY on the top, which is the US dollar index, shows the value of the dollar. So when the dollar has been going up, traditionally, we've seen Bitcoin going down. And look at this, since the FTX crash, which happened literally at the top of the DXY, so when the dollar was the most valuable, we saw the Bitcoin being the least valuable. Bitcoin then started to increase as the US dollar index started to creep down. Lo and behold, on this date, which is the 10th of April, Bitcoin price started to decrease, but from the 10th of April, the dollar started to increase. So it's obvious when the dollar is decreasing, Bitcoin is going to increase and vice versa. What we can see though, the DXY or the dollar running into this key area of resistance. I think this is about to happen. And at the same time, we've got Bitcoin looking very nice for a setup. And we'll look at that in just a moment. So what is it that's so important? Well, at 8:30 EST on Tuesday morning is the US dollar inflation rates. If the inflation news on 8:30 Tuesday morning EST tells us the inflation is starting to come under control, then the interest rates, which have been brought up to control inflation, could well be about to start decreasing. That would be the biggest catalyst you've seen for massive boom in the Bitcoin price. Now, on the 14th, which is obviously the Wednesday, you then have the reaction to that news where you'll have the PPI or the core inflation news coming out. And that will happen again, 8:30 on the 14th. So on the morning of the 14th, which is Wednesday, you'll have a reaction to what happens on the Tuesday. But it's a fairly good indicator of what is likely to happen if those inflation results are in line with what's expected. Now, in the past, there's been indications that the interest rate hikes are going to take a pause. So they'll stop at 5.25%, which means that we then have an indicator that we might be hitting a top for interest rates and we could be about to fall. That will cause a catastrophic boom in the Bitcoin price. So what else is obvious, guys? Well, this on the top is the Bitcoin price, and on the bottom is the Bitcoin dominance price, so the percentage of the crypto market that Bitcoin takes. What we can see in the last bull market, before the last bull market, in fact, so around the 31st of August 2020, this sort of flattened period here, you can see that the Bitcoin dominance started to boom just before Bitcoin started to boom. Okay, so you can see on the bottom, 14th of September, big push in the market dominance on Bitcoin. And then what we see is Bitcoin starting to rally about 2 or 3 weeks later. So what we can see right now, indicating that maybe Bitcoin is going to follow the dominance price, is that dominance has been starting to boom literally today, the last couple of days, as we've seen the altcoins starting to push towards the downside, and yet the Bitcoin price has been tailing off lower. This is a good indication as well that Bitcoin could be about to pump. Now I'm going to show you a few more diagrams. Wall Street cheat sheet. I know you know it, just stick with me. There's something very interesting that's happening here that shows me that we are potentially in the depression phase. Now at the bottom, we've got the Wall Street cheat sheet, and at the top, we've got the crypto market cap. So all of the coins together, put that total together, and you can see something very interesting. The Wall Street cheat sheet has basically this area up here, which would be the euphoria phase. Then it falls down, we get complacency here. We come down to capitulation. We then have a tail off into anger. We then come down and we hit depression. Now, obviously, we've been out of this depression phase, and I would say that we're now starting to move into this kind of gray area of interest here. But look at what comes after that, guys. We then potentially get a dip into disbelief, hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. Exciting times. What further confirms this is a Twitter post from Mustache, El Crypto Professor, worth a follow, guys. It's definitely got some pretty good insight. He pretty much called the bottom of the market back here in January. You can see that this is a Wyckoff accumulation. Now, Richard Wyckoff, back in like the 1920s, worked on Wall Street and identified that the big banks were playing games where they basically went through various accumulation zones at the top and at the bottom, and they pretty much were obvious to follow if you knew what was going on the inside. And it still goes on today in Bitcoin. And what is very cool, guys, here you can see this is the Wyckoff accumulation pattern. And what we got is pretty much this Wyckoff accumulation pattern here, okay? You can see this happens under here. We have a dip towards the downside, which was this, which is to catch all of the shorters trying to get it lower, okay? All of the people who are going to give the liquidity to enable people to buy into the market without having to pump the price back up, okay? So this is a bit of an accumulation zone, and then suddenly it rips back up. It takes out all the short positions, and then you see this. We then come up into this. We get a mark up profit release, which is this dip here, and you can see we're having another one potentially here right now. And then the final phase is pretty much what we are looking at right now. And finally, let's look at the Bitcoin chart. What we've got is this larger blue pattern, okay? This is a rising broadening wedge, okay? What you can see is it's finding support along with this, okay? First confluence is we're looking for. The next one is we have an inverse shoulder, head, and shoulder. This is the neckline of that pattern. So when you have a breakout, you come back to retest it. Perfect. Second confluence. Two things that Bitcoin is showing right now that indicate strength. The third and final one is this. This is a falling wedge. What is a falling wedge? Let's have a look. Graphic representation of a falling wedge. Falling wedge statistics. Now this is what I want to talk about, and I've been talking about on the channel all the time. When we look at any particular pattern, it has a percentage chance of something happening, okay? So in this particular area, 82% of cases will exit bullish. So it will exit in a bullish manner. Whether it comes back in or not, that's not yet confirmed, okay? But 82% of times, it will break towards the upside. In 55% of cases, a falling wedge is a reversal pattern. So 55% of the time is likely to result in a reversal, which is what we're looking at right now. 63% of cases, the pattern's price objective is achieved when the resistance line is broken. In 63% of cases. So let's go back to that pattern. 63% of times it's gonna break towards this price target, which we take from the top down to the bottom, the height of that particular pattern, and we bring it to a potential breakout area. That would see Bitcoin pushing to $32,623. Wow. Well, let's see what that would do. Let's draw then a horizontal line at the top of this breakout target and see where it lines up with. Well, let's just delete that one because it's confusing. And let's just delete this one down here because we can now have some clarity. Look at it, guys. Previously, we broke down through, we came back and we perfectly retested this as resistance. This, as we come across, perfectly, I'm talking like, perfectly as in $50 or so off from being perfect here. Again, areas of interest. This to me is so obvious that this is the likely narrative that we're about to see from Bitcoin You just can't write this, okay? Everyone's telling you right now, or trying to tell you, that Bitcoin's going to go down to 10K. I'm going to put this out there and say, I could be wrong, and you need to do your own, discovery on this. But I'm just going to put my word out there and say, this is what I think is going to happen. It's very easy for people to sit in the comments down below and on my Discord and whatever, on my Telegram, which is linked down below. Telegram, absolutely free. Make sure you get into that. And say, this is 100% going to happen. And then just disappear when they're wrong. Okay? Could be wrong. And I'm going to sit here and tell you, I might be wrong, but this is what I really think is the most likely scenario. What I think is going to happen is that for the next day or so, Bitcoin is going to do not a lot. It could well take a little bit of a dip, maybe just outside of this pattern, down towards like 24K, and then it's going to do this. I think it can't go wrong. And if this happens, you're going to see the altcoins doing similar things. You're going to see the Bitcoin dominance blow up, and then we're going to be entering into what I think could be a bull market. However, looking at this pattern right now, I wanted to point out that this larger pattern is a bearish pattern. Now, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to do that, but I do think the next target for us, minimum, is around 33K. So you've got an opportunity now to perhaps make some short-term gains. And we'll obviously look at what's going on further down the line. But the news and fear in the streets right now has me bullish. I think we need to be doing the opposite of what the mass are saying. And only a few people are putting it down that Bitcoin is ready, is set up to enter into the bull market. I don't think that by this time that we're going to have enough time, given the halving and whatever coming up, for Bitcoin to have a massive correction. I think that perhaps this could be a bit of a dip to kind of fake everyone out and then catch everyone again for a move up to 40, 50K. You haven't got many better opportunities to be buying altcoins than you have right now. I shared this the other day with Solana, when Solana was down in this green zone in my Inner Circle Discord, which is linked down below, guys, just $9.99 per month. And you can see since then, it's now risen up 17%. It might not look like much, but we have been identifying these charts every single day, which has allowed people to be making 15%, 20% gains in the Inner Circle Discord. If you want to just get involved in that, guys, there's a link down below for the Inner Circle Discord, $9.99 per month. We're looking at stuff like this all the time. There's other things where I'm sharing my favorite Twitter threads. I'm sharing all my chart analysis. I'm sharing what's going on every single day. We're soon going to be bringing in Q&As and so much more. So do me a favor, if you enjoyed that video about what's going on in Bitcoin right now, hit that like button. If you disagree with me, let me know down below in the comments. Love to hear it. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe, and I'll see you later on with another very important video. Bye-bye.